By the way, I'm sorry, gentlemen. I've noticed this especially with some men who seem to think Trump's behavior, the bullying and the putting people down, is a sign of strength. And I am here to tell you that is not what real strength is. It never has been. Real strength is about working hard and carrying a heavy load without complaining. Real strength is about taking responsibility for your actions and telling the truth even when it's inconvenient. Real strength is about helping people who need it and standing up for those who can't always stand up for themselves. That is what we should want for our daughters and for our sons, and that is what I want to see in a president of the United States of America.
It's fair to say that 80% of the world's problems involve old men hanging on and who are afraid of death and insignificance, and they won't let go. You know, they build pyramids and they put their names on everything, and they're very anxious about it.
Believe me, if Donald Trump is president again, at some point or another, that ugliness will touch all of our lives. And it will not matter what you look like, how you worship, who you love, or how you vote. If you don't make 6 or 8 or 12 figures, if you're not famous, if you criticize or disagree with him in any way, if he doesn't view you as his equal or relevant to his ambitions, I promise you, he will not think about you when he gets into the Oval Office.
Starting on day one, we will end inflation and make America affordable again.
But the word affordability is a Democrat scam.
One of my top priorities will be to quickly defeat inflation and make America affordable again.
I don't want to hear about the affordability.
We will make America affordable again. We're going to make it affordable again.
You know, there's this fake narrative that the Democrats talk about, affordability. Affordability is a con job.
We will target everything from car affordability to housing affordability.
You know, this whole thing is, they use the word affordability. It's a Democrat hoax.
Greetings, my BPPN family. This is Bold Perspective Network, Mr. Red. Now, recently, if you've been watching the news, you know that Donald Trump put out a racist tweet or re-truthed, tweeted, whatever you want to call it, about the Obamas, basically calling them apes. Now, for black people, this is no shock that Trump is racist because we said that this man was racist. Instead of leaning into the ignorance that Donald Trump has perpetuated, Barack Obama decided to say that pretty much everything going on with Trump is a clown show. And you're not going to get any argument from most people. It's not only a clown show, it is a horrific wreck that if you look at it long enough, it makes you sick to your stomach, especially when you realize that the driver at the wheel, Trump, is basically drunk and demented, and he has no regard for human life. So Brian Tyler Cohen has done an interview with Barack Obama. We're going to review parts of that video. I am a man who has been charged of hundreds of people, and I realize that it is not easy to be in charge of lots of people because everybody's going to have opinions about how you run the show and what you should do. I'm trying to tell you that even though I am a middle-aged man, I recognize that Obama is older than me. He is senior to me. And what he knows and has experienced is unique, very unique. I've been in unique situations, but this man was the first and only black president that we know of. I recognize there's a naivety to what I think, but I also believe that based upon some of the things you're going to hear in this interview, that some of Obama's beliefs is out of touch with what people on the left, independents, and progressives might feel. I'm not going to make any apologies of that on my commentary. I recognize that I may not have the full picture, and we may not have the full picture that he has had from being president, seeing the briefings. But we gotta recognize that this shit went wrong. And even though everything Obama says is to some extent right or nuanced, I should say, I feel like in this interview, he misses the jump a few times. We're gonna go to it. We have much to discuss. Let's strap in, let's get after it.
So as you know, better than anybody, the discourse has devolved into a level of cruelty that we haven't seen before. What was disqualifying just a few years ago now not only feels fine, acceptable, but actually rewarded. You have administration officials saying that the victims of ISIS aggression are domestic terrorists. You have J.D. Vance coming out and saying that it's okay, you don't have to apologize for being white. Just days ago, Donald Trump put a picture of your face on an ape's body. And so again, this is, kind of, we've seen the de-evolution of the discourse. How do we come back from a place that we have fallen into?
First of all, I think it's important to recognize that the majority of the American people find this behavior deeply troubling. It is true that it gets attention. It's true that it's a distraction. But as I'm traveling around the country, as you're traveling around the country, you meet people, they still believe in decency, courtesy, kindness. And there's this sort of clown show that's happening in social media and on television. And what is true is that there doesn't seem to be any shame about this among people who used to feel like you had to have some sort of decorum and a sense of propriety and respect for the office, right?
Okay, so he addressed Donald Trump's comments about him and Michelle Obama were pretty much a clown show. Obama is very careful with his words. I agree with him that most people just want to go on with their lives. Most people like you and I, we want to have a future for our kids. We want to make sure that we have a good future for ourselves, that we can retire with dignity. And for people my age, retirement is coming up quickly. This is something that is not like, oh, it's so far in the future. Retirement thoughts are now. Most of us, I will agree with Obama, at least from my travels, I literally have been in Trump towns. Hate is hate. Most people just want a good life for their kids. However, when you look at social media, you realize that there's this faction within social media that feels that they could be keyboard warriors and they can say whatever the hell that they want to say until consequences catch up to them. Now, it doesn't seem like that for evil, powerful people, but for us regular human beings, it tends to catch up. Joe Biden used to always say something that drove me crazy. He said, that's not who we are as a people. The heart of the people is this. And for Black people, that not necessarily all of our experiences, right? We probably feel that most people are okay. And for us, we just want to go on about our lives. But these people won't let bygones be bygones. So the question is, post-Trump, if there's a post-Trump, how do we get past this? How do we get past this? And I think this is the frustration of Democrats when it comes to, old school people like Obama, because they still think that, the majority of America is fine. But when you look at the voting, the majority of Americans votes with people like Trump in the Republican Party of recent. How do we get past that? How do we move on that? That's a unique challenge that we need to think about going forward.
But the reason I point out that I don't think the majority of the American people approve of this is because ultimately the answer is going to come from the American people. And we just saw this in Minnesota and Minneapolis. It is important for us to recognize the unprecedented nature of what ICE was doing in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the way that federal agents, ICE agents, were being deployed without any clear guidelines, training, pulling people off, out of their homes, using 5-year-olds to try to
bait their parents.
Yeah. All the stuff that we saw, tear gassing, crowds simply who were standing there not breaking any laws. So the rogue behavior, agents of the federal government, is deeply concerning and dangerous.
Look, he's not wrong about what's going on with ICE, and I think he's trying to be delicate with it, but let's call it what it is. This is years of failed law enforcement. If you say something wrong on the internet, they'll be at your house and they'll come get you, right? They'll come knock on your door and ask you what you mean by it, or take you away with a black hoodie on or something like that, or something happens to you, all right? If you speak up against certain things. But if you wear a white hood, or you go ahead and march and stomp for Trump, around the Capitol time, and now these groups are completely silent because many of them have been employed by ICE. And instead of the federal agency, DHS, having strong recruitment requirements to make sure that we get the best people in there, what happened is the reason why these groups and these militias are so quiet is because the recruitment of ICE has increased. So now we have exactly what happened back in the day. Klan members start to become into the military or into local law enforcement, now into the federal government. These people start to become judges. They start to infiltrate every aspect of society that will allow free and fairness. The government has yet to do something with those groups. No administration has. The reason we have these rogue programs, though, is because the priorities of every administration has not been to dismantle the hate groups, but to let them be. And even though you'll see people say they're mostly disbanded, there's still pockets of it. And that was more than evident when Trump was making his ascension, because he gave them license and a platform. And now he's giving them authority and power to do these things. This should have been stopped a long time ago. And now as a result, people have lost their lives. Now as a result, families have been separated. Now as a result, our civil liberties have been infringed upon. Our constitutional rights have been infringed upon. This is where we get frustrated with people like Obama, because they want to believe that everybody's good. But the voting and the polls tell us that there's still some shit going on in people's hearts right now that this country still hasn't dealt with.
So I hear and appreciate what you're saying about the agency of individuals. As we look toward our elected officials, our democratic leaders, I think something that I've been having a lot of trouble reconciling is for so long it's felt like Democrats are solely focused on protecting norms, institutions, processes, and then you've got a Republican Party that sees what it wants and will find a way to get it. Laws be damned, Constitution be damned, rules be damned. And we're seeing that play out right now. And so, given this massive asymmetry, where it often leaves us feeling like it's a Lucy pulling the football away from Charlie Brown over and over and over again situation, what needs to be done? And do you think that our Democratic leadership and our Democratic elected officials understand that for the first time?
This section right here is probably one of the most important dialogues that I believe that they have, because Brian asked the question that most of us, right, especially people that watch this type of channel and other progressive-leaning channels, often say. We feel like one side is playing by the rules and the other side isn't. When are Democrats going to fight like they do for this democracy? For me, I was left a little disappointed.
Look, I think we have to acknowledge that we've got the harder job, right? So we believe in government as a tool for good, as a potential force to create more jobs and as a way to make sure that the planet doesn't roast, to make sure that as we move forward and the economy grows, that everybody and not just some are benefiting and that kids are getting a good education. And what that means is that we have to think about the consequences of our actions. We have to try to figure out how do we get working majorities to actually pass laws and to implement those laws and to make things happen. Tearing stuff down doesn't require all that. So when you talk about Republicans, for example, it seems like they see what they want and they just go after it. Well, they've passed one significant piece of legislation since they've been, for all the hoopla, they haven't actually codified and institutionalized much of anything. They have poured a huge amount of money into ICE and their immigration agenda, and they've cut taxes for really wealthy people, and now they're trying to unravel a bunch of rules and norms and laws that are already in place. That's an easier job. So I say that because we should accept the responsibility and the challenge that our job's going to be a little bit harder.
This is hard to listen to. Not because Barack isn't saying right things, or at least what sounds right. But when you're on this side of the left, right? Again, I'm an independent voter that's left-leaning. If you look at Brian's face, he's frustrated by the answers too. Because the difference between someone like Trump and someone like Obama is Obama is very eloquent. He eloquently tells you the right thing. But what we need right now to combat the Trumps is we need someone who is elegant, but also yet fiery and feisty with their words. And so in a time where you've heard a bunch of word salad from the right, Obama was a perfect candidate because he is, by all measures, the most articulate president that we've had in our modern lives. He was even more articulate than I would say Ronald Reagan was. I think Obama, for all of his talks, he sees an ideal of, and he talks about Obama talks about doing the hard thing. And he's not wrong. When you're a leader and you're in charge, like I talked about earlier, and you have all these people that's relied upon you, you can't always just make stuff happen like that when you're going through the system. But what we have to realize is the system that he wants us to rely upon, it failed when it came to Trump. Because if this system was really about the norms and the values and all these things, first of all, Trump would have never been president. Second of all, he wouldn't be able to have easily dismantled all of the things that were going on in the government that actually were trying to help people, that were actually working. He wouldn't have been able to do all that. But now, given some of the things that we've learned about this government, Trump tearing it down is going to be a challenge for whoever is in charge after him to rebuild the system in such a way that it can't easily be torn down. It's fair for all. And then at the same time, still addresses the needs of the people. This is where some of you all that might watch this get this wrong. He is right. You have to go through the institutions. And then there's usually breaks to it. You get mad at a Democratic president because he didn't do all the things that you want to do, and he doesn't have the Senate and he doesn't have the House. Or he has the House, but he doesn't have the Senate. Or he has the Senate, but he doesn't have the House. And these things are supposed to be checks and balances, but he can't get anything done. So you blame him or you blame Joe Biden because your life is still shitty, because the opposition, instead of them working with Democrats always are trying to work across the aisle with Republicans. Republicans never try to work across the aisle with Democrats unless they absolutely are in a bind. How can we ever get to a place where our democracy works when you have people who are just obstructionists to everyday people? When Republicans weren't in power, they received money from the groups that wanted to give opposition to this man to stop his agenda, to stop Joe Biden's agenda. Yet every time a Republican gets in office, all they pass is tax breaks. That's it. They don't pass anything that really helps Americans, and that's why we keep putting Democrats in office right afterwards to try to fix it. And they can't fix it in time. Obama is talking about a system that no longer works for everyone. It no longer works the way it was intended. So the question is, my BBB family, what do we do going forward that's different, that won't allow a Trump to fix all the things that Trump broke, to find all the loopholes that Trump broke, while still helping the American people out of a lose-lose situation? I'm gonna tell you now, no matter who is in office after this, people are gonna be dissatisfied with what they do. Because right now, they're gonna have to try to save us from a sinking ship. Because whatever happens after this, it won't be easy. Stay vigilant, stay engaged, Stay revolutionary.